Hello everyone, this is Rahim Ramzanali from the Lobby Observer, and welcome back to another episode of Full Court Press. This week we're going to be going over our Week 1 predictions as well as our award predictions. So I don't want to waste any time, I want to get right into it. AJ, why don't you start us off with the first game of the day, Henderson versus Nagy.
So I think this game's going to be really close, and I think that Nagy pulls it out if Coach Nagy, with 1 week of practice, can get that 1-3-1 down that he ran last year. I think it'll be really hard to stop for Team Henderson, but you never really know Week 1 who's going to show up. But I think this game's going to be low scoring, and it's going to come down to who plays better defense.
That's a very good take. I think that watching Brady versus Connor is going to be a pretty good matchup. They're both tall, they're both athletic, they're both really good at this game, right? And I want to see how Team Henderson adjusts to losing so much star talent from last year. So, unfortunately, I'm going to take Team Nagy on this one.
I think I'm taking Team Henderson. I think one of Nagy's biggest aspects is their formation, but I don't think they're going to get it down by the first week. So honestly, this time I'm taking Henderson.
No, I definitely agree with Matty. I would take Team Henderson just because I think that as the season progresses, they'll get a lot better in running their scheme, but we just haven't seen them play with it yet. So I think this one is a toss-up, but I'm going to go with Team Henderson for now.
Moving on to our second game of the day, which I personally think is the game of the week. You could take your pick between Nagy and Henderson, but now we have Last versus Calderon. And honestly, I'm expecting a big show out from Vincent Zhang, who, spoiler alert, is one of my picks for MVP this year. And yeah, I'm going to take Calderon because I don't see anybody who can stop Vincent.
Yeah, definitely on Calderon, picking them. I think they're going to win. I don't think Team Last has anybody that can stop Vincent, especially with the amount of shots he takes. He's bound to go off.
Yeah, I agree. I'm taking Calderon, especially, again, because of Vincent, but also because of Joel Lee. I know he's a pretty good player. But Last has been tucking a little big game from Ben and Brendan Estefan, so it'll be good to see that game.
Hopefully they can show out.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm taking Calderon. I just feel like they're a better overall team. I just feel like they'll win this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Vincent Zhang, he has to tap into his Jason Tatum tendencies and get those shots up. Next game of the week, we got Martin versus LaLasher, and this is going to be an interesting one to say the least. AJ, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I think this one's going to be very interesting. So I'm on Team Martin, and last week Team LaLasher was number 1 in our power rankings. I think that they're going to fall off this week after we knock them off. I really think that Brennan's going to play a huge role because I just don't see anybody that can match up against him. And I don't want to seem cocky, but I think I could have a pretty good game here. But I'm excited.
All right, that's very confident words from AJ Tarzia, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to take Team LaLasher. It's not that much that can stop that chemistry between Jay and Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And Martin just has a lot of unseen talent. They're very unproven in my opinion. So LaLasher by 10 or 20, honestly.
20. Wow.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you, Rahim. I'm taking Team LaLasher, especially because of probably the main duo in RecBall, Jay and Michael, but also I'd say a main trio with Cashman too. I think that's almost unstoppable, especially in the early games.
Yeah, I'll take LaLasher McCall on this one. I don't think it's going to be as much of a runaway as some people think it is going to be. I think Martin will keep it closer than people are thinking, but I'm definitely taking LaLasher McCall for this one.
Moving on to our next game in the 10:15 a.m. slot is Breen versus Lombardo. And AJ.
I got Lombardo in this one, especially with their new addition. That big man, he's going to play a huge role. He'll match up well against Timmy. And I don't see anybody that can match up against Michael and Tommy on Team Breen.
Timmy's been talking a big game. He said we underrated his team, but that's good because he stays under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
One person I want to mention is Kyle Duggan, who I don't know if he's good or not, but apparently he's nice with it. So, again, a lot of unproven talent on Tim Breen's team, but Lombardo is, again, ranked number 2, so we're going to have to take Lombardo on that one.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I think Lombardo's gonna win this, but I do see Breen being a developmental team where they get better as the season goes on. But especially so early in the season again, I think Lombardo's going to take this.
I think a lot of people are overlooking Hemanth on Team Breen. I think this is a revenge season for Hemanth. I think he feels disrespected by the draft, by all the preseason talk about him, and I think that he's gonna come out and he's gonna play big. That being said, I'm still taking Team Lombardum again.
He-Man's coming with vengeance.
Yep.
Moving on to our 11:30 a.m. slot, we got Cespedes versus Alexander.
Rahim, you're on this team, Team Alexander, along with JJ. Do you know if he's playing this week?
JJ is unfortunately not playing this week.
But I did see in the Facebook that he's very close to coming back. So I think that you guys win this one pretty handedly. And when JJ comes back, you guys turn into like a really, really serious team.
All right, well, yeah, I'm going to take our team because even if Cespedes was ranked number 1, I would still take our team. I got the team spirit.
Yeah. I definitely think Alexander Rams is going to win. I think especially with Rahim and Cooper Hagen and Mikey Crew at their top 3. I think that's just kind of a lethal trio again. And then JJ coming in later in the season, I think that's going to be a great addition too. But he's kind of an unknown right now, I'd say. But I still think you're going to take this.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. Alexander Rams taking this one.
Yeah, look for a Cooper Hagen masterclass. I'm expecting 20 or 30 from him.
30?
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Barry versus Meyer is the last game of this week. So, honestly, this is going to be a fun game to watch because they're ranked right next to each other in the power rankings. I think they had the same number, right? Like 6.9 out of 10, I think. And Barry just has... They got that chemistry because Colin Barr and Owen Tarzia are good friends, and Barry and Barr, obviously, they're really good friends. But Meyer has to prove because they got that top 2, that Jake Dapolite and that Eli Warzik with the number one with just their number 1 player, right? And I don't know, it's gonna be a close game. I think that Barry could pull through though.
I disagree on this one. I think Team Meyer is a really strong team, and I think that Barry Barr is just missing that scorer. ONT, he's big, but like if you double him, I think that he could have a really hard time scoring. But Eli, he's like the fastest kid on the court. You can't stop him from his fast break layups, and he has the bunnies to like he can almost dunk, I think. So yeah, stay tuned on those fast breaks.
Yeah, so I might be a little biased here because me and Shawn actually are on Team Meyer, but I definitely think Team Meyer is taking it away. I mean, Eli probably one of the candidates for MVP. Jake Dapp's one of the best players in RecBall. And then David Hilfinger, I think, is overlooked a little bit. He's a big athletic guy, and I think he's going to be a huge kind of inclusion in the top 5.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Upset for this week.
Really?
You think that's the upset of the week?
I think that Barry is going to pull off the upset of the week.
Really?
Okay.
Continue, Shawn.
Oh, yeah, well, I was just going to say, I'm also on Team Meyer, but I'd agree with Matty. I think Team Meyer takes this one.
All right. Well, that unfortunately concludes it because we have no more Monday night games as we did last year, which is unfortunate because those were very fun, but what can you do? Like, I respect the rec department for every decision that they make. Continuing on to our awards prediction, we're going to start off with MVP. So, you want to start us off with that?
My prediction for MVP this year, Brady Henderson. He can really do it all. He can guard 1 through 5. He can score, get the boards, and he's really good at defense. So I think MVP, Brady runs away with it.
Me, I'm going to take... See, this is going to be a very under-the-radar type of pick, but I'm going to pick Vincent Zhang. He's not on a very star-studded team. He's got that Joel Lee and that Luke Hadley to kind of help him out in the paint, but like, I think that if Vincent consistently drops 20 to 30 a game, he kind of gets into that Jacob Belinsky type of light. So I'm going to take Vincent Zhang. And my runner-up goes to Connor Nagy because he's just an all-around stud.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go a different route. I'm going to take Jay Makela. I think he showed up last year in the playoffs, probably the best in the playoffs, and I think if he brings that to kind of the regular season, I think he's going to be MVP of the whole league. And especially on a team where they kind of set him up, where he has so many support players, I think he's going to do really good this year.
For MVP, I'm actually taking Brendan Martin, I think is my first pick, because if he plays the way that I think we all know he can play, I think he's going to be an MVP, a serious MVP candidate.
Okay, moving on to Defensive Player of the Year. Now, this is going to be tough because there's a lot of good defensive candidates this year. AJ, what do you have for us?
So I have Eli Warzik. This was a very tough one for me to pick between Lobby Observer's own Rahim and Eli, but I think Eli really showed a lot of people what he could do last season, and I think that he can build off of it. like as he gets more settled into the RecBall scene, coming off school ball. So I think he runs away with Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Owen Tarzia because there's not a lot of defensive studs on this team. So if Owen can guard up if Owen can guard up on the top and then also be down low, I think he can be a stud on defense with steals and blocks. And we know he can because he did it in school ball last year. So my pick is gonna be Owen Tarzia.
Yeah, so I'm going to take our very own Rahim. I think he was a candidate for deploy last year, and I think he has newfound grit this year that he's going to really dig into, and I think he's going to find it. Deploy, I'm assuming it's going to be him.
No, I agree. I'm taking Rahim for deploy. He gets a lot of blocks. He gets a lot of steals. I think that Rahim just has the numbers for being a deploy.
Some unfinished business here, Rahim, from last season.
They gave up on me. Moving on, we got our best duo. So I'm going to start off with this one. This is very hard to pick between Jay McCullough and Tommy and Michael. So I'm going to take Tommy and Michael because they just have that chemistry from a young age. They grew up together. They played basketball last year on the same rec team. And both of them are MVP candidates in my eyes. So they're like kind of the Will Collins and Kevin Shue of last year. So I'm going to take, Tommy and Michael.
I kind of went a different route with this one. I have Najee Steinberg. I think that Greg, being like a pass-first kind of player, will help them a lot, and Connor can knock down shots consistently. So I think if they get down the pick and roll, pick and pop, they'll be really hard to stop.
Yeah, so mine was actually a tie, I'd say, between Jay and Michael and Brady and Jake. I think both of them really know each other both in basketball and outside of basketball, which really helps the chem between them. And both of them, all four of them really being an MVP candidate kind of helps how good they are together especially. So I think both of them have a chance at best duo.
I would take Jay and Michael. I think that they're probably the two best players on the best team in the league, and they're great friends. I just don't see them I don't see them being a bad duo. They might not be the greatest duo as we go throughout the season, but they won't be a bad one. And I'm taking them now as my early pick for Duo of the Year.
That's a good, underrated pick for Brady and Jake. I think a lot of people are going to overlook them, but they did make a championship run last year.
Together.
And even without Jay, I think that's a pretty good pick in my eyes.
Yeah.
So next up, in our last category of the day, we have Underclassmen of the Year. Now, this one was pretty self-explanatory because this person showed out last year, and we don't really know that many freshmen coming in this year. I'm going to take Thomas Cashman because he's just an all-around beast. He's on a great team this year. He's on our number 1 ranked team, and he's a big part of that. And he can be that presence down low. I know he can knock down shots from deep, and he's just kind of an all-around type of player.
Yeah, I also had Thomas coming off football season. He's going to be really physical, and he'll be nice and strong in the paint, so I think he's hard to stop this year.
Yeah, I also have Cashman. He's an athletic kid, and he really showed up last year, especially as an underclassman. And I think he's just going to do the same thing, especially on, like Rahim said, the winning or number 1 team. So I think he's really just going to show it this year again.
Definitely, I agree. He's big, he's athletic, he's going to be the paint presence. He is the paint presence on this team that we're ranking as championship favorites. He's my pick for Underclassman of the Year.
All right, well, I think that about wraps up this week of Full Court Press. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for next week because that is going to be our first week of game recaps, and that's just what everyone loves about this show. So on behalf of the Lobby Observer and Full Court Press, we are signing off.